Welcome back, everyone, to this series about the blended value canvas. This is the second part of a 9-part series where we explain how the blended value canvas can be used by entrepreneurs, business leaders, and NGO heads to find a better balance between their commercial, social, and environmental goals. The blended value canvas is a tool that helps to create harmony and complementarity between these three goals, rather than conflict. Essentially, it pushes entrepreneurs and business leaders to ask themselves the question, how can we find a better balance and more sustainability within the activities in our business case? In the first part of the series, I explained the blended value canvas and where it came from, how it was born. In part 2 to part 8, I will go through each of the 7 segments in the canvas. And finally, in part 9, I will provide some closing tips and tricks on how to use the canvas most effectively. So in this part, in part 2 of the series, we are going to focus on the first segment of the blended value canvas, which is the rebellious innovation segment. As an entrepreneur or leader, are you really doing everything you can in your organizational activities to create and contribute to systemic change? This is the fundamental question that we're going to ask ourselves in this first segment. Sustainable business leaders try to create blended value, and broadly speaking, we can cluster or categorize this blended value into 3 categories: commercial value, social value, and environmental value. Now, when reviewing the literature on blended value management, it quickly came to light that one of the key contributors to a successful business or organization case that promotes sustainability, innovation played a key role. Now, this might seem obvious, right? I mean, where have we not heard before that an entrepreneur or a business case or an NGO that's innovative will be successful, right? This is quite common in the theory that we've written in the case studies that we study. However, there's a slight difference when it comes to innovation within a blended values setting. So let's take a closer look at this. But firstly, let's just dissect innovation a little bit to have some clarity. Within a typical organizational environment, innovation can take place in various ways. A business can, for example, innovate in its supply chain to create efficiency or gain a higher level of quality. It can also look at its product or service and innovate there to offer a better product that meets the demands of its customer. It could also innovate in its marketing strategies to improve acquisition and be a step ahead of its competitors. Or it could innovate externally as well to create better relationships with local stakeholders, collaborate with other brands, and hence expand its business opportunities and business activities. But these are all forms of innovation that primarily aim to improve the commercial health and success of a business case. In the case of an entrepreneur who strives for sustainability, things are slightly different. Innovation needs to occur in such a way that it satisfies a triple bottom line. As succinctly put by Siegler, entrepreneurship that is aimed at impact or sustainability is where ethics meets innovation. Are your strategies or your innovative practices satisfying a triple bottom line, or are they only satisfying one of your goals? And this is exactly where things get a bit trickier. While it's quite obvious and all good to say that sustainable entrepreneurs or sustainable business leaders need to be innovative, the fact that these individuals aim to satisfy a triple bottom line within their innovation strategies places a higher strain on the resources that their organization has. The reason that the resources are strained in the case of a sustainable business is that business leaders or entrepreneurs have to figure out how they can utilize their limited resources to satisfy different value logics. The literature rightly points out that sustainable entrepreneurs are challenged with limited resources and constraints on their resources in ways that a commercially oriented entrepreneur may not be. And this is exactly where the rebellious nature within the process of innovating becomes so crucial for the sustainable entrepreneur or sustainable business leader. Smith, Godin, and Besheroff explain this importance placed on innovation quite well when they said the importance of the ability of a sustainable entrepreneur to manage contradictory demands that emerge from multiple value logics, including a capacity for counterfactual or paradoxical thinking. In other words, rebellion and conflict within the process of innovation. You see, a sustainable entrepreneur that's trying to satisfy a triple bottom line essentially or arguably has a much more complex task ahead of themselves. And so often they have to take bigger risks, try new things, and really push the set of practices and norms within their sector or their industry in order for them to effectively compete and keep their head above water. By embracing this rebellious attitude when innovating, a sustainable entrepreneur will be better able to overcome resistance and engage in social innovation that will lead to creative destruction. Research conducted by Di Domenico and colleagues actually suggests that sustainable entrepreneurs have a predisposition for rebellion when innovating, as they often refuse to be constrained by limitations and are consciously and consistently testing the conventional limitations imposed by their environment. So in order to make a success of their business case, not only in terms of commercial value, but also in terms of social and environmental value, they need to push the innovativeness of their business practices, their business model, their service, their product, and they must rebel and push beyond the environmental limitations that may be stopping them from being a successful business case. As such, it's vital that they embrace this kind of philosophy and mindset of always looking for ways to be rebelliously innovative within their market or industry. Now let's go back for a second to the question that we posed at the beginning of this video. Are you contributing to systemic change? The term systemic change refers to the idea that entrepreneurs that aim to do good in this world are in fact agents of change. This is a term often used, agents of change or change makers. These agents of change do not exist just to create a profitable business. No, they want to create a business that also has a social or an environmental impact. And hence, they must change systems. They must disrupt the existing way of doing things, challenge the status quo, and come up with new ways of engaging in business activities. This idea of systemic change also points to the need for behavioral change amongst consumers and the behavioral change amongst how businesses interact with each other and with the larger economy. So by asking yourself the question, am I contributing to systemic change? The aim of this question really is to ask you, am I being rebellious enough, and am I thinking in a rebelliously innovative way in order to disrupt systems and in order to create new ways of creating blended value? Essentially, it asks you to embrace the notion that you must be rebellious when changing systems, and that as an agent of change, you have the right to make the industry uncomfortable and to try new things. A really good example of this is the introduction of microfinance by Dr. Muhammad Yunus. Yunus realized that the banking system was not created in a way that was conducive for the poor. Hence, he adopted a mindset of systemic change and came up with a quite revolutionary way of offering loans to the poor. Another good example of systemic change would be social enterprises that adopt the employment model. The employment model is a model where instead of offering some sort of social good outside of your business, you actually hire the people that you're trying to help inside of your own business as employees. Think, for example, of a bakery that hires ex-convicts, or a restaurant that hires people with some sort of mental disability, or an artisan handicraft brand that hires women that have actually come out of prostitution and offers them a way to learn a trade that they can use to gain further employment. Now, the reason that a model like this is so innovative is because it's challenged the whole notion that we have to provide charity to those outside of our business model. This employment model actually suggests, no, even within our business model, we can do good. Another example of this would be Plastic Whale in the Netherlands, which has actually turned the activity of picking trash out of water into an experience. Another example would be Fairphone, which is playing with modular designs to reduce the impact of their phones. and is also looking at innovating their supply chain to make sure that the practices are ethical. And so this idea of rebellious innovation can be hidden in the smallest places. It can be hidden in the supply chain of your business. It can be hidden in your product. It can be hidden in the culture of your organization. It's good to remember that rebellious innovation, although it's the first segment in the canvas, it actually is more of a mindset that trickles on and affects all of the other segments. So you might be able to answer it better in combination with one of the other segments. You might be rebelliously innovative in the way that you collaborate, or you might be rebelliously innovative in the way that you account for your actions. So now it's your turn. Think about your own business case and ask yourself the question, are we contributing to our best capability towards systemic change? How are we embracing the idea that innovation should be rebellious? The tendency here is to focus on the product or the service that you offer the market, but I encourage you to think broader. Think of your supply chain. Think of the way that you interact with stakeholders in your environment. Think of the leadership and the ownership of your business model. Essentially, try to categorically break down your business and your business activities into different chunks, and look at how you could be rebellious in innovating one or two of those different chunks. And as you go through this process of thinking about that, different ideas will come to light. And remember that the process of being rebelliously innovative comes with and demands that you educate yourself and you learn more about your product, your supply chain, or the environment that you're in. And hence, it's very strongly connected to the segment about cyclical education. The segment cyclical education suggests that sustainable entrepreneurs that engage in blended value creation have to continuously push themselves to learn new things, new ways of doing things, new ways of conducting business, making their product. And by doing so, they'll enhance their ability to create better blended value. Now, word of warning, to be rebelliously innovative is not easy. Don't expect that 5 minutes of contemplation is going to allow you to come up with this beautiful idea and to rebelliously innovate. To be rebelliously innovative, we need to push ourselves out of our comfort zone, learn new things, think out of the box, and also give ourselves some time. One of the advices I would give to be rebelliously innovative is to talk with many people. Talk about your idea with people that aren't yet believers of your business, people that maybe come from very different industries. See what you can learn there. Also look at the trends in your own market or in another market and see what you can learn. To be rebelliously innovative, you need time to focus, you need to give yourself time to think, and you need to sometimes dedicate some resources to making this happen. Once you've identified some ways in which your business case can be rebelliously innovative, jot them down in the segment on the canvas and start to think, how does this affect the other segments in the canvas? And also, when you answer the other segments, when you fill the other segments, go back to the first segment and think, how does this affect the rebellious innovativeness of my company and of my actions? And once you've jotted down a few thoughts, you're ready to move on to segment 2. Remember, this is not a linear process. You will always go back and forth between different segments. So that was the first segment in the blended value canvas. I hope that I have, in a small way, made you look at innovation in a new light, and that you now feel challenged to be rebellious when innovating and to really push yourself out of your comfort zone. If you have any questions about the first segment or about the blended value canvas, you can always get in touch with me. Have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you in segment 2.